Kristen Cusato is with us this morning, and you might know her from KUSi and from years in the broadcast industry. She's here to talk to us about a book that's out, Chicken Soup for the Soul, Living with Alzheimer's and Other Dementias. And I think you're the perfect person to talk about it, A, from your personal experience, and also you're so passionate.
Thank you.
So thanks for coming in. Tell us about how you got involved with this book and your personal experience.
I got involved with Alzheimer's not by choice. You know, I was living here in San Diego, working at KUSi, and in 2009, my mother, who's living back on the East Coast, was diagnosed with a type of dementia called Lewy body dementia. The way dementia works is that dementia is the umbrella term. Alzheimer's is a type of dementia. Lewy body is a type of dementia. Vascular is a type. So when someone says to me, oh, he's just got dementia, he doesn't have Alzheimer's yet. He's got dementia. What type does he have? It may make a difference as far as medications and how long it lasts and things like that. So that's like one of the big myths. So here I am thrown into this. And I quickly made the decision to go home and help take care of my mom because I didn't want her to go through this alone. She's my best friend. So I quit KUSi, packed up my apartment, grabbed my cat, 14 boxes, and moved back east. And we went on that journey together for 4 years, and it was really hard, really, 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 really hard. But she was strong throughout, and then eventually, towards the end, I'll spare you the gory details, but it only took 4 years for her to pass. So the Lewy body dementia went through her fast. It's kind of a shorter length. It's about 4 to 7 years, and she passed away at the age of 65.
Now, with any kind of progressive disease, doesn't matter what it is, there's not a book that teaches you how to get through this because everybody's experience is different. The doctors you work with are all different.
Of course.
The advice you get can vary from person to person to person or organization. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden you're caught in this whirlwind of, I don't know where to go, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to turn. And you found yourself in that.
Exactly. I didn't know where to start. And I actually, back in the day, in 2009, used Lisa Gibbons' book, which was called Take Your Oxygen First, as my Bible. So what I would do is I would deal with Mom. We were trying to pack up her house because we chose to put her in an assisted living facility right near our home. And I would take care of her, go in my bedroom and read a chapter and school up on what's happening tomorrow, what I could be facing. So it was interesting because last year I was working for the Alzheimer's Association in Connecticut. And I was introducing Lisa Gibbons, as the world comes all full circle all the time, at a book event. And I was talking about my journey with my mom, and I was talking about how Lisa's book was so important. And as I stepped outside, the publisher for the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, which everybody knows about, said, we need to do a book about Alzheimer's. I said, yes, we do. And here we are a year later. And it's 101 stories from people all over the country dealing with various stages of this dementia journey.
And this is helpful because it's not necessarily the kind of advice you're going to get from a doctor. It's kind of things that you come up with every day on your own, and it's shared. Now, would you want to take a look at yours and read some for us?
Sure. What I created was something called the ABCs of Alzheimer's and dementia for caregivers, because caregivers really need to take care of themselves, and they really need a lot of skills. And it's really all about, because the person with dementia can't kind of change their mind and be as rational anymore as they used to be. So it's all about us as caregivers turning our brains around and thinking differently. So I did A through Z on tips on how to deal, how to approach. And A is approach. Approach with a positive attitude. From the front, with a smile. Address the person with the disease by name. I don't care if you're related to them. It's short-term memory, you guys. That's what they lose first. So say, hey, Mom, it's Chris. Hey, Mom, it's Madison. That will maybe kind of click in. At least they know that you're not threatening and you know their name. And that's very helpful.
That's really important.
Of course,
and I would not know that. And I think a lot of people would not know that. How did you find that out?
By doing it.
Yeah.
By doing it.
Made a difference.
And realizing that when my mom was sitting there, later on, she became not able to walk. She lost the ability to speak. So she's in her wheelchair. And I would actually notice that if a nurse or an aide came from behind and touched her hair, touched her, she'd flinch. So they need to have a visual, because oftentimes they feel your presence and your essence before they can comprehend what you're saying, because what's happening in their brain are these plaques and tangles. I'm not going to go into crazy biology, but it's preventing the processing of what they're seeing and able to do. So if they see you, they're not going to go, oh, his name is this, and he's from here, and I should be reacting this way, and I'm going to try to say the words, whatever, hello, welcome, good morning. Instead, they feel your presence. So if you approach with openness and positive, slowly, smile on your face, it's better than, okay, time to go to breakfast, let's go.
You found an interesting connection between music and people who are suffering from dementia. Because I was telling you about Tim Flannery when his father was passing away. His father was a long-time dementia patient. Tim told me the only thing that he could connect with his dad, he'd take a guitar in and sing to him. And he goes, as soon as I'd start singing, Dad would start singing. And that was all Dad remembered.
It's so beautiful, right? Because, again, the short-term memory goes first, so it's the longer-term memories that remain. So oftentimes we, used to teach this to aides and to people who do recreation therapy in nursing homes or et cetera. Music is the way to connect with them. Music from their day. I mean, there's this incredible viral video about this guy who just kind of sits in a wheelchair in some nursing home, and they put headphones on him, and he starts singing, and his eyes pop up. He starts singing Cab Calloway songs. It's just a way to connect with people. And we saw that a lot, at the Alzheimer's Association. We used to do these groups. I remember this one woman in particular. She was early stage Alzheimer's, and she was having kind of a hard time. She was in her 60s, pretty young. Because when you're diagnosed below the age of 65, it's actually called younger onset, because typically people are diagnosed over the age of 65. But people are getting diagnosed in their 50s and 60s. It's crazy. So this woman is sitting there. She's in her 60s. She's kind of quiet, kind of reserved. And I remember she had just had an argument with her husband on the way there, because they argue a lot when they don't understand, when they get confused. And I had brought a friend in to play some music. He starts playing music, and she's sitting at the end of the table. She starts singing Beatles songs. She just starts singing, and it was just beautiful. She was connecting with the music. She wasn't she wasn't feeling good. She wasn't, they get kind of lost in their head. They're not sure where they are, but yet there's a song from their old days, and they can just go right back into it. And the husband was at the other end crying. It was just a beautiful moment.
I can only imagine, but you've obviously seen this enough because you worked in a situation where you were running, was it the statewide campaign?
Countywide. I was in charge of the one part of the county in Connecticut.
And you got to talk to a lot of different people.
Oh, yeah.
So you found out a lot more than maybe the average person would. When somebody is lost in their mind, and I say that, lost, because there's actually a song we play. It's like being in the middle of a parking lot and 1,000 cars around you and they're all the same color, and you're trying to find yours.
There's so many, somebody said it's like being underwater. It's like you can't find your breath. You can't find out where you are. I'll share a really poignant story. And I hadn't moved back yet. I had decided to move back to take care of Mom. And I was trying to wrap up my life here, quit my job and all that other stuff. And Mom knew something was wrong with her. She didn't really know exactly what it was, but she had been diagnosed, and she kept saying, "What is that? It's Louie body." And she kept saying, "What do I have? What do I have? Larry, Bowie, what do I have? Louie, what do I have?" So we tried to tell her, and of course she would forget because it's a short-term memory issue. And she called, and I remember I remember exactly where I was. I was lying on my bed. I was on the phone with her. I said, "How'd you do, Mom? How was your night's sleep?" And she said, "Oh, the sheets were off the bed again." I said, "Why?" Well, she said, "Because the bed was melting." So in her hallucination in the middle of the night, the bed was melting, so she took it off, took the sheets off. One time she said she was frustrated with it all. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm like, "I'll be there with you, Mom." And that's one thing you really need to do. You need to reassure them, know that they're going to be safe and that they're going to be taken care of, because safety is very important, because they are really lost. And she said, "Am I a good person?" And I said, "Of course you are, Mom. You're the best person I know. My God, you're my mom. I love you. We're best friends. Of course. Why?" She said, "Then why did someone come in and pour acid in my ears?" So she knew something was happening. She knew her brain was changing. And it just was really, it was really sad to realize that she was realizing that was happening.
Yeah. There's a statistic that's out. Women over 60 are twice as likely to develop Alzheimer's than breast cancer.
Right.
I don't think many people have heard that yet.
Yeah, it just came out with new stats and facts and figures from the Alzheimer's Association a couple of weeks ago. So here you are thinking you're over the breast cancer hump, right? Because it typically affects a certain age of people, but it can affect anybody. And then we look at Alzheimer's, which again can affect anybody. It doesn't matter how old you are. So over the age of 60, in your 60s, you're twice as likely to develop Alzheimer's. The stats on Alzheimer's are ridiculous. It's like 5.4 million people in this country have it. Wow. Someone's diagnosed every 67 seconds in this country. We just lost a second. Right now, the stats are 1 out of 2 people over the age of 85 have dementia, and 1 out of 8 over the age of 65 have dementia.
Wow.
Those numbers are really, really high, really high.
Okay, so how does buying this book help?
So this book, Chicken Soup for the Soul, Living with Alzheimer's and Other Dementias, all the proceeds go to the Alzheimer's Association. And the money that the Alzheimer's Association raises, not only to provide programs and education and counseling and all the other stuff, is research. We're like the second biggest funder of research the Alzheimer's Association is in the country, behind the government. And, the amazing research we have here in San Diego, in Salk and everything else, trying to find a cure for this. So there's a lot of money being poured into doing these studies to try to figure out why it's happening, why it's taking who it takes, and how to stop it. Because there's no way to prevent it right now. There's no cure, and there's no way to prevent it either.
If somebody is listening to this and hearing us talk about what you found, what would you say to them to help them? I mean, right off the bat, if they said, my mom's got Alzheimer's.
The most important thing is to realize you're not by yourself. You're not alone. Because I think people think that,
Did you feel like you were alone at first?
I had a book, and I did learn a little bit about, I had a great family. That's very important, obviously, to have your family support. But some people don't have that.
Right.
Often it's one sibling. When a parent is diagnosed, that kind of steps up and takes care of everything. Luckily, I had a brother who was very supportive. You're not alone. And the Alzheimer's Association alone, there's an 800 number. Can I throw that out? Do you mind? 800-272-3900. And it's on everything that they have. And that's a helpline, 24/7. You can call and you can say, hey, my mother's just diagnosed. What is this? What do I do? Or, hey, I need to find an aide to come in and help my mother bathe because I can't do it anymore. That 800 number will help you. Or, I just want to vent. It's 3 a.m. and my mother's got her bags packed and she says she wants to go see her mom. Her mom's been dead for 20 years. What the heck do I do with that information? So that 800 number is really, really key. There's so many support groups in San Diego. And this is, this book itself is a portable support group.
Right.
You can
a portable support group.
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff in there that'll really, really help you out. But it's just a start. Just realize that you're not alone. There's so many people. Just in talking to people, I'll go to an interview with someone and I'll mention briefly, or they'll know that I work for the Alzheimer's Association. They'll go, "Yeah, my mom's starting to," and I'm like, it's everywhere you turn around.
Right.
So people need to know that there's a lot of help out there, and it's up to us as caregivers to really help them live an easier life and help them go through their journey a little bit easier.
Give that number one more time.
Yep, 800-272-3900. It's a 24-hour Alzheimer's Association helpline.
The book comes out on when?
April 22nd.
Not too far away.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I'm glad you're in it. I'm glad you're in here. Thanks for coming in with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.